everyone, how are we? Welcome to Curtin. Hands up who's been here before. Excellent. And for everyone at home, welcome, whether you're rugged up on the couch or you're sitting on the bed chilling out with your hot chocolate. Welcome to the Curtin Information Evening for Years 9 to 12. The first session is focused on Year 9s and 10s and the information that you need to come to Curtin. And then we'll have some time for questions at the end where you can visit the expo if you haven't already. And at the end, for those people online, if you have any questions that you would like answered, it might be ideal to maybe listen to the presentation first and then answer your questions at the end, because we will probably cover a lot of the answers throughout this first 15-20 minute slot. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we're meeting today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. This is also a very safe space for everyone in this room and online. I want you to feel that any question that you have is not a silly question. So again, ask us at the end or at the information booths or online. And we'll get started. For the people that are presently in the room with us at the moment at the Bentley campus, our emergency exits are highlighted on the map here, and you can just follow any of our lovely event staff, anyone that's got the Curtin logo on their t-shirt, through to the relevant exits. And the bathrooms are just out these doors as you came in up the elevators. So the plan for this evening is we're going to talk briefly about why you might decide to study at Curtin, the different entry pathways that you can take to come here, subject selection, scholarships, and then our student ambassador panel have joined us tonight to talk about their student experience, and then we'll have those questions at the end. So a little bit about Curtin University. The way I like to explain it to people in a nutshell is that it's really a big community. So yes, the main goal of coming to university might be to study your course, and it is and should be, but there's a lot of extra things that Curtin does offer you that you can get involved in, like volunteering, mentoring, leadership programs, sports programs, and the more of those things that you get involved in, the more exciting your experience will be, and you'll hear that from the student panel at the end. And we often find that students that do get really involved in those extracurricular activities are the ones that do really well at the end, and they go to apply for a job and they're looked at very highly by their employers because they've done lots of volunteering and things, and that's all in their resume. So for me, everyone's different, but for me, I find that's the best thing about Curtin is that it has that really nice community vibe about it. If you haven't been here before, there's a short little clip here, and this was taken from orientation, which is the first 2 weeks before you start university, where you have time to transition into the course that you're going to go into. And you can sign up to different clubs and sporting activities and get to know the campus. And Curtin, in case you didn't already know, fun fact, is ranked #1 out of the public universities in WA in undergraduate outcomes for full-time employment, starting salary and staff qualifications. I always have to read that off the screen because I can't remember it off the top of my head. So what we're going to do today is, firstly, talk about some of the language that we use. Some of you, it might already be familiar, some of it might not. So the first thing we're talking about is, what is a bachelor degree or undergraduate study? So essentially, when you finish high school, so you finish year 12, the first level of study that you would go into if you go to university is called undergraduate level study. So that's where you hear of things like a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Physiotherapy. If you then complete that and you want to do further study, that would be called postgraduate study. That's where you hear of things like masters, graduate diplomas, graduate certificates. We're probably more concerned with just looking at the bachelor level programs at the moment. There are a few careers though that require you to do postgraduate studies as well as undergraduate, but only a very select few. A double degree. So a double degree is where you graduate with 2 certificates and you have 2 degrees. So you might be doing a double degree in commerce and arts, and when you graduate, you get a certificate of commerce and a certificate of arts. And instead of taking 3 years for one and 3 years for the other, so total 6 years, it's actually condensed, and it could be 4, 4.5, 5 years, depending on the double degree that you pick. But the great thing about the double degrees is that you've got a broad set of skills across a wide area. Major and double major. So an example of that could be a single major would be, for example, if you sat under the Bachelor of Arts and you did a major or specialisation in politics and international relations. A double major is that you have a major in politics and international relations, but also English, but it's under 1 degree. Yeah? Are you all still with me? Hopefully everyone online is still with me. Cool, doing well. ATAR. ATAR is one of the many pathways that we'll talk about shortly that you can use to come to Curtin. It stands for Australian Tertiary Admissions Rank. And for students that decide to take the ATAR pathway, it's a score that you can use to then enter courses with us. So probably the most important thing to mention that Curtin ATAR scores range from 70 up until minimum 95. And if you are wanting to go into a course that is competitive, and if it is a course that says minimum ATAR, which I'll go into in a second, and you are capable of doing ATAR, then Curtin would definitely recommend that you do ATAR, because what you'll be doing is then allowing more options to be open to yourself when you finish year 12. Yeah? Minimum ATAR versus guaranteed ATAR. So for those here, you might have grabbed some books on the way in. For those at home, you might have already had a look through the website, the courses. You'll see some of them say minimum ATAR and some of them say guaranteed ATAR. If it says minimum ATAR, it means that it's a competitive course and we can only take a certain number of students into that program because it's capped, okay? So if it says a minimum ATAR of 80, it means if you get 80, we will consider you, but you might not necessarily be guaranteed a place. So you really need to be aiming for as high as possible to make yourself competitive. If it says guaranteed, it means if it says guaranteed ATAR of 80 and you get an 80, then you will be able to get a place in the course, yeah? So just something to be aware of. Prerequisites. So a prerequisite is an area of knowledge that you need to have in a certain area to then go into a course. Example, if you want to go into engineering, you need to have maths methods ATAR, yeah? And if you, in year 10, you're doing a subject selection and maybe you didn't think you wanted to do engineering at that point, but then you got to the end of year 12 and you decided you did, but you hadn't done that maths methods, there will be a way that you can pick that up with us later on when you start studying with Curtin, and then course switch into engineering. So it's not the end of the world, but it's something to be aware of, and we'll talk about that more later. Yes. So on that note, the ATAR pathway, I think we've kind of pretty much covered everything that you need to know about ATAR, but essentially it's a ranking, it's not a percentage. So if you do the ATAR stream and you get an ATAR of 70, it means you're in the top 30% of year 12 ATAR students in the state. So kind of like an AFL ladder, it's like a ranking, not a percentage. There are lots of enabling programs. So there's a Uni-Ready and also Indigenous tertiary enabling program. So these programs are available on campus, online, part-time or full-time, and they're free for Australian citizens and permanent residents. A good example might be someone that's doing all general subjects in year 11 and 12. You might be able to go and do this program and bridge the gap between year 12 and university level study, because there is a bit of a gap there. And if you maybe haven't done ATAR or a certificate for, or maybe you need to sort of brush up your English language skills or sort of get like a bit of a higher level of sort of academic preparation behind you, that those enabling programs are fantastic for that, because they really set people up to feel comfortable with university level study before you actually start. So another pathway is called the portfolio pathway. And with this, we'll have one of our student ambassadors hopefully comment on that later on. But that's just where you can put together a resume, a cover letter, some references, and you basically create this package of things that you can use to apply to get into a certain course. So not all courses accept portfolio. They tend to be courses that have an ATAR of 70, and they list the specific courses that accept portfolio are on our website, but there is one for each of the faculty or study areas available. You can use a certificate 4 as well. So lots of schools nowadays, not all, but some of them do offer certificate 4s. And if your school does, and that's something that suits you, then absolutely you can use that. You do also have to meet English separately to that, which would be an A in general English or a pass in your ATAR English. There's various other ways that you can meet English, and you can look that up on our English competency page of our website. There's a diploma. So an example of that is, any registered training organisation, you can use a diploma with them to transition and move into a course with us. A great example that lots of people do is they start a diploma of enrolled nursing, and that actually means that they can start working as an enrolled nurse. And then while they're working as an enrolled nurse, they can start the second year of a 3-year Bachelor of Nursing to be a registered nurse and complete that. So that's just one pathway. Another good example is if you wanted to, for example, go into commerce or business, You could study at Curtin College, which is a college located at Curtin University on campus. They have one-year diploma programs that also are packaged and transitioned to take you into the second year. So you would do 1 year diploma at Curtin College, and then after that you'd move into the second year of the Bachelor of Commerce, and you would already be acclimatised to the campus and familiar with everything. So it's a nice little transition similar to Uni Ready. There is also a written English test available at the end of Year 12 if you do need any help with your English competency at that point. Just to summarise, the schools, Year 9s and 10s, your schools, when you get to Year 10 and you're doing a subject selection, the schools will advise you on what they think is best based on your circumstances. So it's really up to you and your parents or guardians to have those conversations with the school, and also have a look at what courses that you're going into to determine which of these is going to suit you best. Just keeping in mind though that if you are wanting to go into a competitive course, or you want to at least have that option open to be able to go into those competitive courses, that I would, and you are capable, then I would also be making sure you consider that ATAR pathway. So subject selection is probably the hot topic for the Year 10s in the room, and this is where we talked about having that understanding of prior knowledge. So this is just a little handful of courses from health. So just as an example, you can see here on the left a few courses. So in Bachelor of Pharmacy, we need to select Chemistry ATAR and Maths Applications ATAR to be eligible to go into Bachelor of Pharmacy straight after school. If you haven't done that, that's okay. There'll be another way that you can pick up those units and then apply to course switch. Not a guarantee though, because it's a competitive course, but that would be a potential possibility. But then you can see there's a lot of other health ones here, like psychology, sports science, health promotion, that there's no specific prerequisites. So we would just look at your other studies that you've done. So what you can do, and then some of them, do also have desirable. So desirable means that you don't have to have studied that subject in Year 11 and 12, but it might help you if you have. But we're mainly concerned with having the prerequisites more than anything. Again, if you haven't done them, it's not the end of the world. We can pick it up later on. Now, we have this fantastic Year 10 guide that's just been printed, which has basically all of that information. So it talks about suggestions for subject selection, and a great thing to do, because probably a lot of you aren't really sure what you want to do yet after Year 12, a good thing to do can be to go through all the tables and lists of courses, just get a pen and just put a line through all the ones that you like, that's a hard no, not interested in that, see what's left. And then of the ones that are left, just have a look and see what those prerequisites are, and that might help you direct your subject selection, just as an example. So yeah, all the prerequisite information is in here, and if you're watching from home, you can download this Year 10 guide from the website. Pathways are in here, all the courses. There's also a personality quiz that you can do, so you just answer a couple of questions and it will give you some suggestions based on your personality and your profile as to some careers or different areas or different courses that you might want to go into. Now briefly, we're just going to very quickly whiz through the different study areas. So when you do that quiz, this is sort of a little bit of part of it. So it's thinking about yourself, what are your interests, what do you like doing? So one of the things that you can do is think about the type of subjects that you like at school. Okay, so if we take that just as an example, if you like chemistry, health, human biology or maths, perhaps these areas from health sciences could be something that you'd want to consider. If you like English, media arts or visual arts, these could be some areas, arts, design, creative industries, that you'd have a look at. Economics, English, maths, business, innovation, law. Again, these are just a couple of suggestions, but there's a lot more outside of this. Physics, chemistry, maths. Got a few suggestions here. Engineering, surveying, physical sciences, maths. And our Centre for Aboriginal Studies has Indigenous tertiary enabling courses in pre-medicine, health, pre-science, engineering enabling courses, and we also have 2- and 3-year degrees in Indigenous mental health and community management. So when it comes to figuring out what Year 9s and 10s, what you think you want to do after Year 12, looking at the subjects that you are studying can be helpful, but also think about the type of environment that you want to work in, the type of people that you want to be around or don't want to be around if you don't like being around people. If you're going into the area of health, are you going to be comfortable handling people's bodies and seeing blood, or are you going to faint? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Do you like being outside, or do you like sitting at a desk all day? So these things, if you sort of get all of them and put them in a bucket, you can help narrow it down a little bit. Very quickly, because this is probably more appropriate for when you're sort of towards the end of year 11, I'd say, and into year 12, there are lots of scholarships available. So there are ones for academic achievement, financial hardship, socioeconomic background, citizenship, and course or study interest. Some examples that are live at the moment for current year 12s, these ones listed here. But again, when you get to year 12, this could be different, or they could have different names. So yeah, we can check that out sort of when you get into year 11. There is lots of extra support available on campus. So there's something called UniPass, which is where there are some particular subjects that in a given year could be more difficult. And so the university offers these UniPass sessions where you can get together with other students and workshop and prepare for exams. There's also a mentor program, so automatically you will be assigned a mentor from the second year of the course that you're in, and they will sort of transition you into your study at university, get you familiar with the environment and all the things required by your faculty. The library, which we're in now, thanks for hosting us. Curtin Library, it's fantastic. They have heaps of sessions as well, so you can do sessions on like referencing, academic writing, academic reading, how to use the library, all sorts of things. There's a fantastic makers creative space in here. So if you just want to have some chill time, you can just go in and do some knitting or 3D printing or photography, whatever you like. There is a Curtin Access plan available. So when you get to year 12 and you are looking at doing your application, you can actually let us know if there was a physical or mental condition that you had that stopped you from performing to 100% throughout your year 10, 11 or 12 time. And yeah, that team can help you with the transition as well. But we can talk about that again in year 12. There is also counselling, GP, nurses, IGA, everything on campus. Like I said, it's a big community. There are opportunities to go overseas. So it could be, depending on what you're studying, it could be a 2 or 3 week study tour, or it could be 6 months to a year abroad. So my husband, as an example, he studied Japanese and he went to Japan and lived over there for a year, which really helped with his Japanese language skills. So what will happen is, if you do want to go overseas, it's just a matter of talking to the study abroad office, and they can look at the course that you're studying, and they can then tell you which countries in the world that you will be able to go to. There's lots of internships available sometimes overseas. So as an example, some students from the School of Business and Law went to go and work, do an internship at the Maldives at this fancy hotel, which is very luxurious. I'm a bit jealous. So the next steps after today, and the first step was coming here, so well done everyone for getting here, especially in the rain and the terrible weather, is to sort of reflect. So, let's start thinking about likes, dislikes, type of person that we are, like really doing a sort of deep dive into your soul and who you are. So let's start doing that first, then doing some research, so looking at the university websites and the publications, which you can take from the expo today, or if you're online, you can have a look on the website. And then talking to people as well. So trying to find people that are working in the area that you want to go into. What do they like about it? What don't they like about it? Just talking to people, friends or other siblings or family members can really help sort of narrow it down a little bit. What else? Yeah, the schools generally all have career advisors that can support you, and the teachers can support you, and any other university events as well. So we'll have our open day next year, which is on April 6th of April. Thanks, Shanita. Terrible with dates. So you're welcome to come to that next year. Oh, the laptop's just... Now I would like to invite my student ambassador panel to the stage. And while that's happening... Okay, that was convenient timing. Thank you. So here we have 4 lovely current students that have volunteered their time to come and have a chat to us about their experience. So what I might do is get you to each introduce yourselves and what you're studying and what year you're in. So if you're in first, second or third year. So I might start with Tasman.
Hi everyone. My name is Tasman and I'm in my 5th and final year. I do a double degree of law and commerce, majoring in accounting.
Hi, Kaya. I am Sharzi and I'm in my 1st year doing a fine art bachelor's.
Hi, I'm Connor. I'm in my final semester of a double degree in mechatronic engineering and computer science.
Hello, my name is Isa and I'm in my honours year in psychology and I recently completed my double degree in psych and marketing.
Thank you all for being here today. It's great to have you up on the stage with me, not lonely anymore. So the first question I had, which I was going to ask Shazzy, is can you tell us a little about the pathway that you took to come to Curtin and how that worked for you?
Yeah, so I actually did something slightly different. I chose to do a portfolio entry. I still did 2 ATAR subjects to qualify for my math and English, but I collected my portfolio entry through volunteer work, through community service, and also went above and beyond via Student Guild and did the most that I could, as well as got a whole bunch of references together and gave myself a lot of me time, a lot of time to focus on my mental health instead of stress about ATAR, and formulate this portfolio over the past 2 years in 11 and 12. Put all of that together, and not only did I get into the course that I wanted, I also ended up getting a scholarship, which is an incredible honor. I am with John Curtin Scholars, and it's lovely. I'm so privileged to be able to have done what I did, and I'm the first person to get said scholarship with a portfolio. So it is doable. I highly recommend it. If ATAR is not your pathway, portfolio is so simple, and it gets you into certain courses with a lot less stress.
Thank you. Congratulations as well.
Thank you.
That would have been fantastic. So the next question I have is for Tasman. Can you tell us a little bit about your timetable and how that sort of works and how it looks? How many hours a week roughly you're on campus, that sort of thing?
So in the first 3 years of my degree, the first year being when COVID was happening, it was full-time studies, so that was 4 units, and I was on campus maybe 1 to 2 days a week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's because the flexibility was there for me to put the units on, like the contact hours, on the days that worked for me. So that meant I was on campus maybe 10 to 14 hours every single week across those first 3 years. Now I'm in my final year and I'm doing it part-time, so I'm only doing 2 units. So I'm only in maybe 1 day a week for roughly 4 hours, because that's just what my course needs at this time.
Cool, thanks. And then, did you talk, just that I kind of blocked out a little bit, sorry. Did you talk a little bit, not trouble, about, like, do you find it manageable being able to work as well as study? Like, how does that?
No, amazing. So throughout the entire, like all of my 5 years, I did casual work and I also did internships, and I've also been a part of clubs, and I've also been volunteering, which is an insanely busy schedule on top of doing full-time study, especially across those first 3 years. And the beauty of like picking all of my classes, I got to pick them so far in advance that I was able to work all of my work commitments around that and vice versa. So when I was choosing my classes, I knew, well, I had X, Y, and Z on with the semester that was coming up. So maybe I couldn't commit to a Monday, but I could commit to Tuesdays and Wednesdays for my uni study. But it's very, dependent on you, what you can handle for that semester, that year, and just looking at, what your workload is going to be like. But it's absolutely achievable. Just have to be, flexible with what you need to do. Yeah.
Thank you. My next question is for Connor and Isa. We might ask both of you the same question if that's cool. Can you tell us how you decided what you wanted to study, essentially?
Sure. So I was pretty lucky. I had a teacher in year 9 whose big thing was helping us students find out what it is we want to do later on in life. And he said to me, "Oh, you're pretty good at maths, you're pretty good at science. Not so great on the communication side, but we'll work on that." So he suggested engineering to me, and I haven't wavered since. I've since very much enjoyed it. Still am enjoying it to this day. In my first year, I was pretty fortunate that the first year was generic to all disciplines. I originally came in thinking I wanted to do electrical engineering, just because I had a keen interest in circuitry and electronics. I had a bit of a programming background as well, which I know electrical does a bit of that. After doing my first year, I found that not only did I enjoy the electrical, but I really enjoyed the programming and I really enjoyed the mechanical systems as well. And I said to the course advisor, this is so hard, I don't know how to choose, I want to do all of these. And she said, oh, why don't you consider mechatronic engineering? So I went, oh, cool, I get jack of all trades, master of none, exactly what I want. After 2 years of doing that degree, I found that I wanted to do a lot more programming because we sort of only just touched on that. So I switched to a double degree in computer science and haven't wavered since. The good thing about it is throughout all of my units, I sort of got a taste of what other disciplines and other areas of science and engineering have to offer, and it helped me narrow down exactly what I wanted to do, which was mechatronics and computer science, which I'm doing now.
Fantastic, thank you.
So when I was in year 9, right up to year 12, I kind of just attended workshops like these, talked to lots of people, and actually kind of just kept an open mind. And I even talked to engineering and stuff, and just to kind of see what's out there. But realistically speaking, I knew I wanted to go down something in health sciences, but I just wasn't quite sure if it was social work, psychology, OT, or the other stuff. So I actually just looked online to the course outline and I saw what I was going to learn in each semester, and I from there was able to be like, actually this is kind of more of the stuff that I want to learn about, and use that approach to determine to pick psych. So yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. So the last question I've got for all of you, if we've got time, fantastic, she's like heaps of time, is if you could go back to being in year 9 or 10, like some of the students we have here or online at home, what would you advise your high school self as a year 9 or 10 person?
I think, you put so much pressure on yourself to pick the right ATARs so that you can make the right decision, and I definitely did that. I picked all of those ATARs, and then I got to the end of year 12 and I was like, oh no, I don't know what I want to do. I know I want to pursue, higher education, but I didn't know what exactly that was going to look like for me. So I took a gap year, and I'm going to promise you that a gap year is not as scary as it sounds. I used that time to network with as many people as I could, learn about all of these different industries, and it was within that year that I found out that I was really interested within the legal industry, and I wanted to pursue, going down the path of being a commercial lawyer, which is something I wouldn't have known had I not have taken that gap year. So definitely don't be scared of that.
I am fresh out of year 12. This is my first year, and my biggest recommendation is that if you are nervous or you don't think you're mentally ready enough to do such of a big commitment as ATAR, you don't have to commit to that. There are always other pathways. ATAR does not have to be the end all. Please focus on yourself above it. That's what I would tell my younger self. I would drill that into her, because she needs to know that this is your pathway. And ATAR does not have to be the end all. I still got into uni without focusing on it completely.
I would say keep an open mind. So throughout high school, I was very much narrow focused on engineering, but I also looked around and the other degrees had to offer. You may have an idea now of, yep, this is definitely what I do. I'm only going to talk to these people. This is all I'm going to look into. But feel free to explore your options. And you don't actually have to decide until toward the end of year 12. That's exactly what you want to do. And even so, when you get into university, you could be like me and course switch. It's not the be-all and end-all. And yeah, essentially talk to as many people as possible, keep an open mind, and explore all options you have, because world's your oyster at the end of the day.
I think I would just remind myself that at the end of the day, you could have all these teachers and parents inspiring you to pursue all these incredible degrees, but it's going to be you sitting those exams and tests and submitting those assignments at the end. It's not going to be your teacher from year 9 or other people. So just remembering that it will be your journey, and if you're willing to take that journey, I think it's often a nice point to consider whether seeing if you want to pursue a particular degree or not. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for taking your time to be here tonight. So I think probably the takeaway from this whole session and from hearing the four of you speak is that we're all unique. We're all going to be doing different things in year 11 and 12, and that's totally fine. But now is the time to sort of start having a think about, you know, where we want to go, what we want to be, and just exploring that space. But whatever it is that you do in year 11 and 12, if you do want to come to university, there will be a pathway available to you. There's lots of different pathways. So on that note, thank you all for coming. Actually, I have one more question. Put your hands up if the people that are physically in the room, if you feel like you are more knowledgeable on the content today, like if you feel more confident. Great, I've got at least one hand. For people online, everyone put their hand up. Everyone put their hand up, so I hope you've all got your hands up online. Fantastic, okay. So we are going to wrap this session up now. Thank you so much for battling the rain and potential thunderstorm that was coming tonight. And please help yourself if there's any refreshments left in the room behind us. And the expo will be continuing outside, so just out these doors and to the left. For those that are online, if you haven't already, please start submitting your questions through, because we've got a big fantastic team that are all ready to go. They're all fired up on coffee and sugar to answer all your questions. But from me and from our lovely student ambassadors, we will say good night and thank you very much for coming.